So let's first of all understand how our emotions flow and how the universe functions. Uh, all of our emotions are grounded within the parameters of the seven principles. And when you look at our emotional state, we do have polarity. We have a rhythmic pattern, which means that every time an emotion is going to be flowing, right? Energy is meant to be in motion. It's going to flow in a rhythmic pattern, which means up, down, or in a simple context, if I look at it from the perspective of polarity, it's going to be a plus, a minus, a plus, a minus. That means a positive emotion is a negative emotion. So, what does this really mean? It means that there are going to be times in your life where you're going to have a rhythmic momentum of flow of emotions, and you're not going to be always positive, or you're not going to be always in a negative emotional state. So that's how naturally emotions flow, in a rhythmic momentum. The problem is not in the flow of emotions. The problem is when we are not in allowance of our negative state of mind, and we get into a completely resistant mode and self-bashing mode. So what does that mean? So suddenly you may wake up one day feeling just irritated about something. What are you supposed to do at that moment? Just take a few deep breaths and acknowledge that you're irritated rather than resist your irritation, because it's only an emotion and it will flow away. Or you could cognitively or intelligently replace it with putting your focus on something positive that's working in your life. Now, because if you resist that particular emotion, your entire focus is on that irritation, and it'll start growing, because energy grows where it flows, and energy flows where the focus is. So if you're focusing on a certain aspect, I'm irritated, I should not be irritated, you've started focusing on it, and you've started actually investing yourself in that vibration, and it starts growing. And that little iota of irritation you woke up with can actually grow into a time bomb by the evening and have an outburst in your outer environment. So first of all, allowance of yourself, of whatever state of emotion you are in, and it's best to isolate yourself and be in a very silent mode at that moment. Let's define allowance. When we talk about the stool of allowance, allowance is a very easy vibration where you have no projections, no expectations, no judgments, no conclusions, and no separations. So let's take this one by one. So no projections means what? So projections are basically a manifestation of our own shadows. And if I talk about what shadows are those emotions of yours which you were not allowed to express when you were a child, and which was wronged by people in authority in your life, and that becomes your shadow. Like, for example, if you were a kid and you made a mistake by probably creating a mess in your outer environment, and if your people in authority like your mom or your dad were perfectionists, and you were given this lecture, or you were told off, or you were beaten up probably for making a mess, as a child you may have concluded that making any messy place or any imperfection is not going to be accepted, and that becomes a wrongness in your world, and you start projecting that wrongness into the outer world, that everybody must be perfect, everything must be perfect, and there should be no mess. And every time you see a mess, for your brain, it is a threat. It is like you will be beaten up, because your mind got frozen in that time and dimension where you were beaten up as a child by your authority. And so creating a mess is wrongness, and it's a threat, and your reactive brain, or your fight and flight brain, or your lizard brain takes over. So when your child is then creating a mess, you're not in allowance of it, and you start projecting your fears onto that child, and you become reactive, or you start wronging him for doing that. So no projections is basically allow things to be the way they are. And if you want to educate your child about how he should be more perfect, it's always done more assertively and cognitive, rather than making him feel that he's doing something wrong. Just divert his attention and tell him, teach him how to keep things perfectly, rather than blaming him for doing things wrongly. So Every time you're projecting a certain expectation on people, that people should be a certain way, and people are not here to live up to your expectations of how they should be. People are a product of their environmental conditioning, guys. And it's very, very, very important we understand that. What is it going to take for us to be kind and compassionate to everybody in our world and allow them to be who they are? What is it going to take us to be so compassionate that behind all the behaviors that people have, we could see a God inside their eyes? So, no projections and no expectations. And out of when your expectations are violated, when they're not met up, you judge them to be a certain way. And out of your judgment, then you conclude that this person is so and so, and you fix a label on their being. And that is the most dangerous thing. If you understand human beings, we all have all emotions and all aspects of positive and negative within us. But when you conclude that this person is lazy, or this person is messy, or this person is a liar or a robber, then you actually function from a vibration of conclusion, and you miss out on all the other possibility of receiving any other way of being from this person. So that means when you've concluded you're wearing the filter of this person is a reactive or an angry person, every time this person is being kind and nice to you, you're never going to receive it, because you're not looking at the kindness of this person, because you're viewing this person from the concluded filters of the judgments that you have. So it's always okay to allow people to be who they are, to allow yourself to be who they are, and to allow life to flow in the direction it's flowing. Our job is not to stay resistant. Our job is to flow with the flow of life. Our job is to receive people just the way they are. And who are these people I'm talking about, my dear friends? They're your own karmic group souls, your own family, your own siblings, your own spouse, your own children, your own in-laws, your own parents. And you came here to karmically complete with them with unconditional love. So when we conclude about people, we automatically separate ourselves from them. And separation is a very, very damaging wall that we create. So separation is what that manifests the ego between two souls. And ego means ego, edging God out. So we all have a God aspect within us, a God being within us, which is our soul quotient. And when we conclude about a certain person and judge them, we create a big wall of separation, and we cut out and miss out seeing the God quotient of them. And we only can see that particular aspect of them at that moment of what we are judging them for. So, my dear friends, I know 2018 has been emotionally challenging for each one of y'all. And with the tools that you've been given, I want you to step into a space of great power and creation throughout 2019. And when you allow things to flow and you're in a space of receiving does not mean only receiving positive. Receiving is a vibration where you're willing to receive all that life has to offer to you. So allowance is a byproduct of an empty space of receiving all that shows up, because only in the receiving and the allowance you create new possibilities and you manifest miracles. My dear gods, I'm sorry about that. My dear soulies, you were not born to be the victims of life. You were all born to be the creators of your reality. And my invitation to each one of y'all is stop bothering about how people behave. Take out your focus from everybody and go within yourself and put in all your emotions, your energy, and your vibration into manifesting miracles and to becoming the most upgraded version of yourself. Every single few days, we are upgrading our apps, we are upgrading our technology, and we are upgrading all our gadgets. Why would we not upgrade ourselves every single moment? Because life is happening in the now moment, and moment to moment, we have an opportunity to upgrade ourselves. And allowance and receiving is the tool, my dear friends. So step up to spiritual compassion. And when I talk about this word spiritual compassion, what does it really mean? Spiritual compassion is trying to look at God in everyone. And if somebody makes a mistake or somebody does something that's not endorsable in your standards, just take a deep breath and understand and just say to yourself very silently, here is a piece of God who really does not know what they're doing, and that's okay. Fall in love with life, fall in love with yourself, fall in love with all of humanity, guys, because truly zindagi achhi hai and life is beautiful.